G'day YouTube, welcome to Drop Bear Moto. This is Richard. Is this bike a lemon? Is it fatally flawed? I've been reading a lot of stuff on forums, social media about 101 Scout, well the whole 2025 Scout range, some problems with this bike. And the reason I wanted to do this video is a lot of people are saying, should I buy this bike? Should I wait for future model years? Is this bike a lemon? Maybe I shouldn't look at it. So let's spend a few minutes going through some of those concerns, and I'm going to give you my honest experience. Yes, I'm passionate about the Indian brand and I have a few bikes, but I thought let's just try and clear some of them up and let's try and answer the question, should you buy this bike? So this bike's got 638 miles on the odometer. So, you know, not a ton, but enough to be past the wear in. It's had the oil dropped from the 500 mile, first 500 miles. So it's a good indication of once this thing starts to get a few miles under its belt, how does it perform? So the first complaint I've heard is the amount of time it takes the ride command to start up. This bike is warm, but we're going to do a quick test now. We'll time how long it takes. We'll press the button down here and the start button together. The complaint people have is this screen stays black for a long time, and you can see that is the case. We're 24 seconds in here, and we're still black on the screen. We finally come up, we can't hit the OK button yet. Now we can. Oh, sorry. So 32 seconds was how long it took to come up. That's generally the case on this bike. It takes about 30 seconds. If it hasn't been ridden in a few days, it might be a little bit longer. So yes, it's taking long. I'm going to put a comparison in here of our Chief, which has ride command as well. So yes, it takes a while for this screen to come up, and yeah, probably unacceptable amount of time. I will say though that it's not an issue, right? You hit the start button, you put your helmet on, put your gloves on. By the time you've done all that, you are ready to start it. So I don't really think that's a deal breaker in buying the bike. As I say, we've got a Chief. This is how long it takes on Chief. I'm sure Indian's going to get better at this. I'm sure there's going to be a flash to the system that's going to improve the startup time. But in the meantime, you don't have to do it. I think it's good with Indians though, every so often to let it go through that full process, get to the OK button and hit that, because it is going through a bunch of checks and things. And you want to make sure it's doing that before you start the motor. Once every few starts at least. But I mean, if you're out for a day and you've done it in the morning, you know, I think there's nothing wrong with getting going. You're just going to have that black screen for a period of time. The second point that people complain about is the idle and the stalling on the bike. So let's fire up the bike. And I'll leave this screen on here, and you can see, hopefully in the screen here, what the revs are doing. This bike was, when I first got it, it would idle between 1,000, 2,000 RPMs just sitting there. So it was quite lumpy at idle. This bike has never dropped below 1,000 though, and I hear a lot of people are saying that it does come down and stall out. Obviously that would be a problem, and I'm not denying those people have those issues. This did run rougher when I first got it, and as you can see now it's a lot closer, but it's still kind of rough for an idle. It's certainly not flat. You couldn't put a beer on top of it and hope that it was going to not spill. It is a bit lumpy, but you can see here that there's no danger of it stalling out. And I will say that you know, I put in first gear there, it still hovers around that amount. I can take off. You know, we're not in any danger of stalling at all. I can come to a stop and the revs stay the same. So I'm not denying that people have an issue with the revs on their bikes. I absolutely believe those people are having it. I know bikes have been running rough. I will say that I did not, you know, a lot of people talk about really babying them in the startup period. I went pretty hard on mine. I did get it up to the 9,000 RPM a few times. I ran in sport mode. I'll deny all this if I ever do have a warranty claim and Indian comes back at me. But I you know, gave it a bit, right? I didn't just chill out on the bike and really baby it. I did not, and the one thing I won't do running in a bike is sit on a freeway or on a period for a long time at a set RPM, in a set gear, on a set speed. Don't do that, because you will, you know, seize the engine in that particular way. You want to vary it, but I think you want to wind it out, right? Don't sit on, you know, 100% throttle for ages and ages, but certainly, you know, ride it around, use that throttle, right? You know, give the bike a little bit. And I think the ECU does have to pick up over time. And it does start to change, and I noticed that, you know, as I say, it was running a lot lumpier originally when we got it. That went away through that 500 mile period until we got to this point here. So look again, yeah, you know, it's a V-twin. It's supposed to be a little bit lumpy, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to stir some emotions. You know, not supposed to be the smoothest bike out there, right? There's other bikes that you know, that can do that. The third thing is the throttle response generally. And let's go for a little bit of a ride now and test that. Look, I'm not a fan of Indian's fly-by-wire throttle. I never have been. You know, we've always gotten every one of our Indians tuned. Personally, we go the Lloyd's tune, but I believe there are a lot of good tunes out there. When we go the Lloyd's, suddenly the throttle response is just 100% better. So I would certainly get a tune on all my Indians and you'll find a better response. So this bike is actually not too bad, you know, in terms of throttle response out of the gate. It's a lot better than any other Indians we've had. So I think Indian is getting better at the fly-by-wire throttle and more responsive. So certainly enjoying that on this bike, and I'm not busting to get a tune like I have been. I'll certainly still do one, but I'm not absolutely hanging for one. I do think all Indians and most bikes now come from the factory pretty lean. They do that to meet Mrs. DBM waiting for me to get my filming done. They run them pretty lean from the factory because they want to meet the ECU and other requirements on bikes. So you know, they just run lean. You know, so again, I think that there's a lot of performance by not running a bike lean that we can get out of these things again with a tune. So I would always be getting a tune and putting that on, and I think you're just opening up a ton of performance before you've done anything else to the bike. So makes 100% you know, difference from my point of view. But this is more responsive and I could live with it. It is in sport mode at the moment. I haven't been giving it heaps, but just giving you a bit of a taste of, you know, it's not stalling out as you can see or anything like that. It's been pretty responsive, so drivability is good. The next one I want to talk about was the fuel gauge. For that we need to swip over to this gauge. We've got a fuel tank at the moment, which is right, it is full. So I'm going to ride this one around a bit, and we're going to go out and tear it up, and we're going to see how this happens. So we're at 639 miles, full tank. Let's just see how the fuel tank goes. Okay, so we've done about 695, so it's about 60 miles since we last since we had a full tank. That's probably about right, 60 miles, and we're down just over half a tank. So gonna fill it up now and see if this fuel gauge moves. This bike was drag racing for the last little while. If you want to see all about that, there'll be another video coming out, so subscribe and set up the notifications and you'll see what that's all about. But yeah, fuel gauge seems to be working, it's about right, so let's put some gas in it and see how we go. The other complaint is about filling it up, and you'll see that you can see the tank down there, but what I found, if you just come at it from the front a little bit, push it on a bit of an angle there, put the tank in, you can see, oops, did clack out there, but you can see you sort of put it on at this sort of angle. You don't want to be full down, but yeah, I mean, you know, you can fill this thing up. Sure, it's a little bit fiddly in there, but oh, we are now full. So yeah, you can see that it's pretty easy to fill up, really. It's not that hard. Let's kick the power back on, see what we will have to wait a while, obviously, as we know, but let's see what that comes up with in terms of fuel, and if that changed the fuel gauge. Half a tank, so should have been enough to sort of register. So you can see pretty much straight away the fuel gauge is starting to move. It is stuck on about 3/4 at the moment. We might have to start driving off a little bit and just see if it'll quickly hop up to a full tank. So we can see now fuel gauge is starting to move. Let's start to head out of the gas station. Yeah, it's creeping up there. Pay more attention to the cars in the gas station than the, well, just as well, than the fuel gauge. What are we up to now? About 3/4 of a tank, just over 3/4. Okay, we're kind of on full now. It's been, what, 4 miles since we left the gas station, so it did sit there for a while just under full. It might edge up to full, so it is kind of slow. Look, I honestly don't know if that's because of the you know, half full tank to there and it's a bit slow, just checking that it's not sloshing about and registering, or whether, you know, maybe I partially filled it, so it is a bit slow to register. But I've seen a lot of people complaining that they'll have a full tank and it'll show as empty, or an empty tank and it'll show as full. So I mean, they're definite problems, but you can see this one's pretty much working, maybe just a bit slow. It's kind of getting up there now. So all in all, to answer the question, look, should you buy a Scout, or should you be concerned by some of the problems? Only you can answer that. I bought mine before we even knew there were problems. I think if you follow the stories, I bought it on launch day without even riding it, so we took the plunge. We got what we got. I don't regret it, obviously, and you can see on this particular bike we haven't had the problems a lot of people have had. So it's worked out for us. It was a, you know, a gamble buying a bike without riding it or even seeing it, and it paid off. We're super happy. Should you buy it knowing that? Look, honestly, I think you still should. I think it's an amazing package, particularly the 101. I've said it before, but this motor, the suspension on the front, the rear, the dual Brembos up front, the way this thing handles and rides, it's a ton of fun. If this is a bike that's sort of checking your boxes, get out and ride one. There are a few now at dealerships. You better have a go. Get out and get one and check it is for you. If it is, I would take the plunge. Look, these things are under warranty. If you are experiencing problems, and I don't want to dispute for a minute, I think there's you know, there are people out there that are having problems for sure, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I really believe that obviously when we buy something and it's not working out how we wanted, we jump all over and we look for help, and we're quick to, you know, put a comment up and sort of share a bad experience. Whereas you buy a bike and it works, you don't necessarily go on and go, hey, my bike works, because that's kind of what we expect. So I certainly, you know, feel for those people that are having problems, and I believe they're true. I would like to think that it's not that many bikes, and the majority of the bikes are pretty good. You're just seeing the bad stories, and that's really why I wanted to do this video, was to explain that to people, that there are good bikes out there that, you know, we've been really happy with, and we're up to full now. So I would take the plunge. I think that there's a lot more good bikes out there than not. If you are having problems, jump on the forums, jump on things, share the experience. Let's get them out. As one of the first 100 owners, we did an interview with Indian. We sort of mentioned we've been hearing about these things. They said they're well aware. I will say a friend of ours in the Indian Motorcycle Riders group that we ride with in Palm Bay, he bought a 101. It was really running rough. He stopped by the dealer. They changed the plugs, and they did a flash. They did update, so Indian has some updates if yours is running really bad. And he said it's a completely different bike, and he's really happy now. So I think they're starting to get on top of some of these problem bikes where there are problems. They're going to keep doing that, and if you keep telling them, they're going to be able to run diagnostics and fix them up. You know, should you buy a first-year bike? It's up to you, I guess. I've got a 2020 Challenger. Mrs. DBM's next to me on a 22 Chief. They're first-year models, and they've run sweet as a dream since new. So I would certainly not be deterred from buying a first year bike. I know Harley's having a bunch of problems on the CVOs last year and the 2024 Street Glides, Road Glides this year. Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes we are testers when we get them in the first year, and a product no doubt gets better with years to come. But should you not buy a bike or delay it for years until it's fully sorted? I don't think so. You've got the warranty. Indian are going to be working on it. Go back to your dealer, keep talking to your dealer, keep in contact, keep sharing the information. It's going to make the product better for all of us. We're going to get those upgrades as they come through, be able to share that information together. So look, I would still buy. Obviously a call for you if you want to play super conservative, hang out till later years, or buy a proven bike for sure. I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I know you'll make up your own minds, but holy shit, to miss out on this package and not be able to run around on this bike. I wouldn't miss out on it for love nor money. I would certainly jump in and grab one of these while you can and not delay. And I do wish you all the best if you get one. Ride safe, and I hope it's a good one. Thanks for watching.